I can't believe I'm saying this. Mike Portnoy has returned to Dream Theater. What? What's up, guys? Welcome back to Lone University. I can't believe I'm saying this. As I said, Mike Portnoy's back with the band after being gone for 13 years after he departed in 2010. That was one of those do you remember where you were days? Because I sure do. I was in my apartment in college. I was so into the band in those years, and I remember reading that, and I was like, I felt like someone I know died. I was so into the band, and that was really emotional for me at the time as a big fan. And here we are. I never thought I would see the day. And I loved and appreciated a lot of the Mangini era stuff. I really did. Distance Over Time was amazing, but I just never thought I would see the day. And the first thing I thought of when I saw this news today was, I want to go back and watch some videos of this classic prime lineup. So that's what we're going to do today. Instrumedley. This was a medley of their instrumental songs released on Live at Budokan, which was one of the DVDs, live DVDs that started it all for me. And I want to go back and revisit it. I've not seen this in easily over a decade. And I want to soak it all in and reminisce with you guys. I know a lot of you are very happy, but one thing I want to say is that the transition from Mangini to Portnoy on the internet, the press releases, that's class act stuff. Positive, everybody was well spoken. That's how to do it, and I was really stoked about that. We obviously don't know the nuances behind the scenes, but I would like to think it was super, super amicable because Dream Theater have always been a class act. Without further ado, let's get into it. Instrumedley, Live at Budokan, Dream Theater, live from 2004. Let's reminisce. Been a while. That sound is just nostalgia, is it not? Okay, I know this starts off with Dance of Eternity. Some of the tracks, I just don't remember the order and such. Let's see. I want to see that live again. Down here in D. See if it comes back to me. Okay. I lost from there. I'm not going to play along the whole time, but that's a very signature song. The coolest thing about this is there's a good chance or 100% chance I'm going to be able to see this lineup live again. Got to get my words right. The first time I saw Dream Theater was in 2009 in Orlando, Florida on the Progressive Nation tour with Scale the Summit opening. What a weird way the universe works, right? I later joined that band. So I just feel very close to this whole thing. That was the first time I saw them live. I saw them live with Mangini twice. For those of you who've seen both, what'd you think? I thought they were both amazing shows. In fact, I saw Dream Theater live back in June on the Dream Sonic tour. It's a great show, but I'm excited to go back and see this lineup live one day. Let's roll it. No point in getting into all the time signatures. This is crazy. Dance of Eternity is well documented. This is one of the craziest instrumental songs I think still exists with like 100 time signatures. I'm sure you guys know the exact number. But that was a really cool part where Petrucci actually had to modify that guitar run. And then he goes down, but he's on a 6-string here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I kind of remember this from back in the day. So he modified that part, went up an octave. I always noticed that, but I'm just so nostalgic watching this. This is just a big day. I can't say enough. Cool little part right out of the Metropolis Part 2, the slap. I talked about this in my analysis of Metropolis Part 1, actually, where he kind of does a slap. Forgot the notes, but Always a cool little fill. That's really the only time I've ever seen John Myung slap. Really, honestly, this part, if I think through their entire discography, that's really about it. And before we get too far into this, I want to say this is the kind of stuff I missed about Mangini era Dream Theater. This is the kind of Portnoy, I'm going to call them Portnoyisms in terms of how his contributions were applied within the band. These cool live things that you never see. Instrumedley, they haven't done a medley like that in a while. And I remember after he left, some of the members said they didn't like the medleys, but that's the kind of stuff that was unique about him. He really put a lot of attention to detail in the shows, the different set lists every night, which I know is challenging, and I didn't mind a same set list every night in the Mangini era, but he always just wanted to spice up the live shows in any way they could. And these are the kinds of songs, Instrumedley, that he would bring to the table. I could be completely wrong, but there's a lot of other examples of things like Instrumedley that were Portnoy's creative brainchild, if you will. And I'm excited to see what kind of stuff like that returns when he begins touring with them again. All in all, I'm just very excited. These four guys here, amazing. Always love this part. Look at John Myung's fingers. Control, he really flicks those fingers out. Uses a lot of 3-finger technique as well. Groups of 3, but it just looks so smooth. I've always admired watching him play. I said this a lot in the Glass Prison analysis I did. I did a live version, and he is just ripping those strings really, really hard. Erotomania. I'm stoked watching this, knowing this is going to be reality again. I promise I'm not going to fawn this whole video. I'm just excited today. I wanted to reminisce with this. And this core group of guys here, mean so much to me in my upbringing. You know, I grew up and I listened to different stuff, but they just always hold a special place in my formative years as a musician. I learned so much. I learned a lot about bass from watching John, but guitar, keys, drums, I learned a lot about their stage chemistry and musicianship. I always loved how open Mike Portnoy was in interviews, talking about just the raw behind-the-scenes stuff of the band. I gleaned so much about that. I know a lot of you did too, because this was a band that really went the extra mile for the fans, and a big part of that was Portnoy. So far, we're in Dance of Eternity, transition to Erotomania, and I have to think, with as complex as their instrumentals typically are, it took a lot of fun, creative work to blend them into one song. You know, you have to really think about how it's going to change into one from the other with key signature, time signature, resolve, tension in mind. And I recall it's just so smoothly done. Now, you could think it's tough to string together a lot of progressive instrumentals from a band like Dream Theater, but the truth is there's so much opportunity in Dance of Eternity, transition-wise, where they could have really gone into anything. So maybe it is actually easier because songs change keys and time signatures a lot. So I'm going to have enjoyable time remembering what's after this. I knew the first two are Dance of Eternity and Erotomania. Let's see. I always loved how happy this part was. Kind of classical. I remember little bits and pieces of these songs. That shit is nuts! Oh yeah, it goes back to Dance of Eternity. That was a smooth transition too. Wonder how many notes are in this whole Instrumedley. I'm sure somebody has counted. Ooh, kind of forgot some of these notes. Oh yeah. Okay, I broke down this entire solo, the techniques behind it, in my Metropolis Part 1 analysis and reaction. You can find that along with my Glass Prison one in the description. I get a little more nitty-gritty on John's technique as playing. This is a long video, so I don't want to stop too much and talk about the nitty-gritty. But if you want to check those out, check the link in the description. But I always had loved the innovation of whipping something like this out in 1992. It was really, really cool, and they were just cutting-edge musicians. I mean, it's cool to get into kind of grunge music a little bit later and realizing these guys came out in that era with this stuff. Just a lot of really cool, I don't know, like I want to say history with the band, but it's kind of like they defied all the odds. And Portnoy returning is just this weird full circle thing that I think is going to reinvigorate their career in ways they can't imagine. It's going to be really cool. I always call this Sonic the Hedgehog part. For some reason, it reminds me of that. Woo! That was an Alex Lifeson chord there. Another thing I've always loved about Dream Theater, they are never ashamed to wear their influences on their sleeve, but they're openly talking about them. Every band's influenced by somebody. Why hide it? I like that. Them talking about their influences actually turned me onto a lot of other bands I wasn't aware of at the time, which is also cool. That's the family tree of music. A band says, hey, we're inspired by this band. Then I go check out that band, and I usually like it because I like the first band. But that is such an Alex Lifeson chord, that suspended fourth. Right there. Oh, yeah. Change of seasons. That's right. I used to drill this part to get it up to speed with the record. And I can't remember that chromatic part at the end, but I remember trying so hard to drill that with the record and get it. It's just a great 3-finger exercise. Both hands are in sync, just kind of going down this kind of... It's kind of like F sharp, Phrygian or something. Doesn't matter, but good exercise. Look up the tabs for it if you can find it. It's really fun. That little chromatic bit at the end is just good endurance stuff there. Ooh, look at that stretch. Classic Jordan. Love it. Hey, you know what's funny as that is? That's probably a really good musical modulation in and out of parts. I think that's a cohesive part with Change of Seasons. I can't remember that song structure entirely. But speaking of a change of the seasons, A Change of Seasons. Why can't I say that? I was just going to say, I would love to see A Change of Seasons live. I forget about this song sometimes. It's always one of those like, oh yeah, Change of Seasons. It just wasn't on those big Hallmark releases and was a separate EP release later, of course. I didn't know that was supposed to be on Images and Words until many years later. That was supposed to be the closing song, I believe, and it got cut last minute due to the album being too long. And then it had its own EP release several years later after Awake. That would have been really cool to hear on Images and Words at the time, kind of in that context. I remember reading this in their Lifting Shadows, I guess, autobiography I got a long time ago. Cool stuff. Would love to see it live. Oh yeah. Yitsay Jam. Okay, these are the Portnoy things I missed. I don't know how else to say it. Just the showmanship of him as a drummer. And as I've said in some videos, I was so fortunate to open for Sons of Apollo back in 2020. I got to see this live every night. I just loved watching him play. He's a true character on stage. Flawless playing, a natural. I mean, needs no introduction, but I loved watching him physically play and interact with the audience in the way he does. And stuff like this drum fill right here is exactly what I'm talking about. This stuff that brought such an energy to the live show. Coming back to me. Picking old brain cells there to have that one come back to me. Never learned that part. Real quick, my favorite thing about them including Yitsay Jam into this version was we got to hear like a really good mix of Yitsay Jam. You know, the production on When Dream and Day Unite, it sounded like a debut album. The songs were there. They sounded a little young. You could really hear that Maiden influence coming out, but it was really cool to see it make it into the Instrumedley because it was like, this is a great mix in my ears. It was great to hear that song just give a little more of a production treatment. That was kind of my favorite part when I remember them including this. Cool angle. Oh yeah, Dance Eternity. Now, I studied this 3-finger bit a lot. I loved watching him play this. The toughest part about this for me was being able to do 16th notes with 3 fingers going one direction. I just spoke in depth about this in the last video earlier this week on Billy Sheehan. Always going one direction, ring, middle, index. I've sort of adopted a hybrid method. And I actually kind of think I adopted that, learning that part from A Change of Seasons, because my hybrid method is that I will go whichever way my fretting hand is going. So if I'm going down a scale, it will follow the fretting hand exactly. If I go up, I go the other way. And it was weird trying to learn this part after that fact because the fretting hand part for this bass part that I'm about to play is kind of both directions, but John Myung is just going like this. And I wanted so badly to learn it the way he did, but the tricky part is that the fingers get off because it's 1 E and next finger, 2 E and 3 3 E and then it resets, and then the next 4 bars it's on a different finger. So you almost have to tune out the beats and just think digga 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 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E, but you're going 3 against 4 the whole time. It's more of a mental exercise. So just a little history on how this stuff was just so influential to me. I just love watching it. I don't remember the notes. Look at his 3 fingers there. Oh yeah! I knew it was somewhere in here, Liquid Tension. And I've got to say this. Part of me wonders, and I'm sure it's obvious, did the Liquid Tension reunion for Liquid Tension 3, did they just get in the room and write that record and go, yeah, we need to do this? It's being talked about online a lot. I think it's pretty rhetorical. That or Terminal Velocity, Petrucci's solo record. You know, I look at Portnoy and Petrucci just like a Lennon-McCartney, a Dimebag Vinnie, Ulrich, Hetfield. They're just like the core of a band, just the heart of the band. You can only separate them so long. If they weren't going to get back together with Dream Theater, it was going to be something. It was going to be Liquid Tension. It was going to be Petrucci's solo record. And I think it's one of those things, after that fact, getting that chemistry, just a taste of it back for themselves, I don't think they could ignore it any longer. Pretty obvious. It's got to be something like that, right? Universal Mind. That whole drum part, that's just good Portnoy ear candy stuff that I've just missed on a lot of recent records. As great as Mangini is, I know the way I'm talking about them both just sounds like every comment online, but we all got into them in the Portnoy era. So it's, you know, you just can't change that history with yourself. You can't change that history with your love for the band. And there's just, Mike Portnoy wasn't a guy that just kept the time. His drum parts were very musical. They added a dimension to the songs that I didn't really hear anyone do at the time. And it's not that anything he was playing was unplayable. It's just the way it intertwined with the rest of their music was just something special. And I think they rediscovered that chemistry very quickly, like I just said. And just those little drum parts I'm hearing in there just are such a reminder of that. This whole drum part right here. The whole cadence of the drum part. Very musical. Oh yeah, it goes into this circus part here. Oh, shit. Forgot about that chromatic run. Woo, look at that. Back to Dance of Eternity. I forgot they put that in there 3 or 4 different times. Whoa, look at that. He used his ring finger to mute a string as he ascended with the other 2. Told y'all I wasn't going to get too picky, but I gotta show you that because I'm watching for this stuff. Normally in other videos, we're just having fun in this one. But watch his ring fingers, that little I just caught my eye. Small stuff, good bass player stuff. I think it's Hell's Kitchen. Yeah. Underrated song in their catalog. Absolutely. I'm also one of those rare people, and maybe I'm not so rare. I put Falling Into Infinity pretty high up. Like, if I had to give you a ranking for me, you know, back on this wall back here, you see these vinyls above my head. I have the top 10 albums that influenced me as a bass player on vinyl in order. Number 1 is Scenes from a Memory. It's not my favorite Dream Theater album, but it's the one at the time was the most influential to me musically. I think my favorite Dream Theater album is still 6 Degrees, the whole thing. And Scenes would be 2, Images and Words, Train of Thought. I think Falling Into Infinity would be number 5. I like it more than Awake. I think this is a great album. Trial of Tears, I know they were pushing for more of a experimental mainstream sound, but that bass tone on the record, I referenced that bass tone with Tetrafusion's Horizons EP and Dreaming of Sleep. I gave that tone to Jamie King. I said, here's the Trial of Tears clip from Dream Theater's catalog. This is the bass tone I want. Anyway, love this record. I think it's very underrated. Woo! Yes. Nostalgia has been achieved. Well, watching that made me giddy. I'm going to get to see this lineup again. You guys know when those tickets go on sale, it's going to fly. I don't know about Taylor Swift craziness, but people are going to be excited. That's the point. And I'm one of those people. I could talk all day about what today means to me as a Dream Theater fan. And I try not to be too fanboyish for any band here on this channel, but it's apparent. You know, this band was such a core part of my formative years. And, you know, while I kind of drifted away from them naturally, I got older, I got into other things. My formative years of being a musician were kind of over, and I was just a musician. Today's news is just an anomaly. I mean, it just brought back so much nostalgia, just knowing he's playing with them again. I mean, I kind of felt that way with Liquid Tension 3, Terminal Velocity. It was like just a tease of it. What do you guys think about this? I want to know what you guys think. I think the tough part, in a way, is that Mangini has been such a class act in the band, representing himself well. Both times I saw him, once was in 2012, and then again this past summer. Both times he played amazingly, sounded great, great vibe on stage. I mean, he fit in with that band so great. And again, we don't know the behind-the-scenes nuances. I'm sure it was very bittersweet. across the board. But as I said in the beginning of this video, they handled this transition as Class X, and can't say enough about it. So I'm very curious to see what a follow-up Dream Theater album will sound like with Portnoy returning. Very curious. We're all waiting. And of course, you know, when that happens, we're going to check it out together here on this channel. Thank you guys so much. Make sure you're subscribed. Again, if you want to watch my other heady, more thorough Dream Theater analysis and reactions to their songs, John Myung's Technique, you can find those in the description. I love you all. Cheers. Mike Portnoy's back, y'all. We'll see you next time.